Okay, these are the video instructions for the 36-inch tall laser cut Seattle Space Needle. I'm going to go over some of the basic stuff you're going to need to create it, and I'm going to put the one together here for you to show how it goes together. Here's some of the stuff you're going to need. This is just water in a spray bottle here, and the water is going to be used to create these things so they bend and not break. These pieces right here need to be able to bend, and the water helps loosen up the plywood so it doesn't break. There's some thick CA, you won't need much, some accelerator, some 100 grit sandpaper, scissors, and a number 11 X-Acto. Let me go over the different bags that you're going to receive in the kit. First one's pretty obvious. These are all the long parts. The long parts here are for the outside, these 3 outside, and the 3 inside. You're actually going to get 4 in case you break one. So you're going to have an extra. So that'll be a good peace of mind when you're putting it together. Obviously these plastic pieces here are for the windows when we get to that point right up here by the upper and lower deck there. This bag of parts here, this triangle and all these little windows here, this is purely the lower observation deck. This is the lower observation deck. It's all the parts you're going to need to create that little building down there. This bag right here has the upper and lower base and the 3 parts that separate it. Right here is the lower base, the upper base, and then just the 3 little parts. This large bag of goodies here has to do entirely with the top of the Space Needle. Everything is pre-counted, and up here what you're going to need is in this bag. And I got a bag of miscellaneous parts. Obviously all these little guys here, all these are going to go together to make this part here. These little Pac-Man things here actually support underneath here. They go underneath there, and that's where you're going to put those. And then put that down there. And then these 2 pieces right here are these 2 mid pieces right here. Alright, we're going to start building the foundation here of the upper and lower base part. One tip you might want to think about is what you might find is some like burnt looking marks here. Whenever the laser cuts, it kind of like leaves a little burnt mark. The easiest way to get rid of them is just take 100 grit and that fast, and you can really shine up your part there. Actually, at the very end, it's a good thing to do because you're going to be grabbing all these edges all the whole time, and you're going to be getting kind of the dirty marks all over your project. At the very end, just take that 100 grit and run it all over the whole thing, and it'll shine it up like new. So let's start building this thing. Here's this part's labeled the lower base. You're going to take these, and these have to face in. So we're going to put them in like that. And then this is going to go on top of that. Maybe put the words down so you don't see upper base. And actually the back side is actually usually very clean. You'll see one side that's cleaner than the other when it comes to the laser cutting. So I'm just going to line these parts up. They should drop quite nicely into place like that. Alright, I'm going to take the center pieces. There's 3, like I said, there's 4 in the kit. But you only need 3. You're going to see that these have kind of a fat end, and then it goes skinny for a while. It goes together such that the fat end goes outward. So we're going to put these in. And now these are made to be pretty tight. These aren't going to just slip right in because you want to hold the thing together. So what you're going to kind of wedge it in there. Now if you want to glue this thing back together, obviously we can do that at the end, but we'll get some of these tougher pieces back in here. Okay, now that we've got the straight members here and the base on, we're going to pull this bag out here, and this bag is basically everything you need to create the lower deck here, the lower observation deck. So we're going to pull out the two big parts. The two big parts each have numbers on them. Put those parts in, the numbers in, so you don't see it when you put it all together. For now I'm just going to put the two on together, and it's going to rest against this lip down here. So we're going to start at the top, start with just one. And it'll just slide right on down. And it'll stop right on that lip. Put the next one with the numbers down so you don't see these numbers when you got a finished model. And these numbers will match the written instructions of why there's numbers there. So it's just a matter of lining up these parts. Sometimes it helps to look at the top. There we go. And it'll just slide down. Now, you can leave them like a gap like that or something, because later on we'll come in and put these little parts to make the little windows. Next thing you want to do is grab these three little Pac-Man parts. The Pac-Man parts are going to go in these notches that are outside. So we're just going to stick these little Pac-Man parts in here. Let's see, that fell down, so don't worry about it too much. Alright, so there's the three Pac-Man parts. Next you want to grab this part. And, you know, if any of these slots ever are a bit tight, that's what the X-Acto blade is for. You can always get in there and just open up a little bit. Sometimes there's thicknesses in the variations of the wood that can't be accounted for in the slot thickness here. So most of them should fit, but don't be afraid that if it's too tight, just open it up with an X-Acto. That's what we got it out here for. Alright, so this is going to go down. And it's basically going to stop right on those Pac-Man parts. So at this point what I want to do is, before we start to build this, like I said earlier, these parts right here, I've already got this one in here for you, these parts right here are going to have to bend. They're going to have to quite a bend to them, and you don't want them to break. So an old modeler's trick of what we used to do is you want to wet the area that you want to bend. So I'm just going to come over here and bend. This is just water. I'm going to let it set for a minute here. Alright, so as you can see on these other ones, I already put some parts on here. What we're going to do is we're going to need to put this other part in the center here. So we're going to get this old 45 looking piece here that used to go in the center of records. And what we're going to do is we're going to drop this thing in here like this. See these notches here? This notch here is going to go inside this notch here. So we're going to drop it in and we're going to rotate it until it clicks into one. And these things are going to be stretched, so you got to be real careful so you don't break them. So I'm going to drop it in here, so it's going to look like that. And I'm going to try to fold it out as it goes out, kind of have it sink in now. Kind of want to watch these parts here so they don't break. So you kind of want to separate them, get them going the right way as you're folding this thing out. And this whole thing will just kind of drop into place here eventually. Just about there. Once that first one goes, then they'll just kind of fall right into place. So be real careful. It helps to have this lower part all done so you're taking the strain equally while you're doing that. Okay, now that you've got that basic part done here, we're going to pick up these parts that I just wetted. And if you take a look at these parts have a slot. And what they're going to do is they're going to mate with this slot right here. So you don't want it to be going the same way, because obviously it'll never mate. You need to have it such that these two parts are going to interlock. They're going to bite into each other. So this has to be the outside. So right down here we're going to put this thing into its lower slot. Now if this thing doesn't exactly line up, you can kind of pull up on it. A lot of times it's a result of the base not being completely flat or these parts not in here. All these things kind of have to line. And this is going to be, you know, this is pretty tight and not easy to do. So you gotta pull this back. And kind of line things up as you go, and it'll, once you get it all lined up, it'll go in there just like that. I'm gonna do the next one, making sure that you know that this slot engages into that slot. So I put the bottom piece in, push it down nice and hard. See, it may not line up, but it's going to take a little bit of coaxing. Get in there. There. Alright, so I got to make sure it's engaging the right way. That's the wrong way, that's the right way. Put it in the bottom, this drops right in. Okay, and at this point, these should all lock in. That's what this whole thing is, this part right here for. You'll see it'll lock in perfectly. Everything will lock in right there. Alright, see these other two are already kind of pre-done. These little pieces right here go on top of those parts you just did. And you can see it says in right there. That has to go in towards the center on that notch. So now you've got, you can zoom in and take a look there what that thing's got to look like. Next we're going to construct the upper half. This is where you just start this, and this is probably the hardest part of the entire project here, is getting these pieces to equally bend without breaking. The parts are numbered, the round parts, as a stack of round parts, 6 through 20. 6 being the very top, and goes 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it just keeps going down onto 20. So I'm going to grab number 20. 20 is the very bottom. Obviously number 20 is going to have all those architectural pieces here. And it's the very bottom. So what you're going to do is you're trying to bend this equally without breaking it. And it is not easy to do. You kind of get 2 in there at a time, get your hand in there. Just take your time. And it's going to snap back on you many times like that. It's easy to get the first 2. That last one over here, there, I just kind of dropped it in place. Now the parts are angled such that as you press down, it's slowly going to go out even more. I designed the angle so it goes out. So now the last part is you need to engage the little slots with these center parts. So you're just going to keep coming down and line these center parts up. And as you're moving around those little center parts, it'll slowly start to drop in. Sometimes it's easier to see from the top where the alignment is as you're getting close. It's not easy getting all 3 of them to go at once. So you're kind of, one's going to go first, and the other one's going to kind of stop it. So just be patient. You know, you're almost there. Once it goes, it's going to drop right on down for you. We're almost there. You can see one side starting to go. Almost there. Okay, I got all of them in except this one. Boom, it just drops in like that. Okay, that was actually the hardest part. Now it's basically just a stacking exercise. Really easy to do. That was number 20. You're going to look for number 19 in here. Here's number 19. You're going to put number 19 in here. It's going to go over all the parts that you just put in there like that. And then you're just going to keep stacking. There's number 19. Now you're going to go to number 18. Okay, 17 and 16. 17 and 16 are the same size, except 17 has these little notches built into it. What those little notches are for is to hold your windows in place. They kind of match that. So we're going to zoom up here and show you that if you look at the built model here, these two have been stacked together, and then you glue this around it, and then you put it on the stack. So ideally 17 goes on the bottom. Actually, I put that one even on wrong. It doesn't really matter, your eye will never catch it. So what I'm going to do is take some CA glue, a little dab, and glue 17 and 16 together, making sure that you look through there so everything lines up perfect. Okay, and then what the theory is here is all you have to do is take this white piece and we're going to glue it, and you can see how the notches match perfectly as you wrap it around. It'll wrap around like that. So what I do is just pick a side, probably put glue, not a ton of glue, but right on the back half. So looking at, I've glued this part right here, and we'll start in the center. And I just walk it around like that. Walk it around like that. I'm going to hit it with a little accelerator. And just glue the front part. Now you just bring the two together and they'll match right at one of those seams. You're going to have to hold it down while you hit the CA accelerator, and of course you're probably going to glue your finger to it, which is usually what happens. So if you want to do just one side at a time, try to get your finger out of the way. I'm sure I successfully glued my finger there. There. Now that's a stack of 17 and 16. It just simply goes on there. Okay, now the iconic outer ring here is number 15. It'll engage on the very tips of those that are left. Oh yeah, and let me point out one thing here. See, sometimes that the laser won't cut completely through. There's an example right here. And also, you can notice this side's a little bit dirty, has all because there's so much laser cutting. If you flip it over, this side's beautiful. But take a look here. So you might get an example of this. So just run your number 11 X-Acto blade here on the parts that look like just barely haven't cut. And then pop it out. It's that simple. So here's the nice end portion of it. We're going to put it on here. Okay, 13 and 14 are exactly like 17 and 16. I won't show you that right now, but it's the exact same setup. You're just going to glue the two together and put the ring around it. But that was number 15, so what I like to do at this point, you're going to get the top, and you're going to kind of go the other way, starting with number 6. I'll find number 6 here for you. Put number 6 down so you don't see it, because you don't want to look at a number 6. Number 7. over 9, over 10, 11, 12. Now 13 and 14, when you put it together, will be glued together. Right here it won't be, just because I just want to show you. So will be glued together. 13, 14. And then the final step, you've got that little bit left. It's just going to mate with that hole right there. So you're just going to take it. Alright, so that's basically it. Now what you need to do is just kind of to finish it up. You're going to take all these little pieces, the flat part goes up, and then you can just spend your time inserting them in there so they look real pretty, one at a time. Go all the way around. And I'll show you real briefly what to do at the bottom. We'll just zoom on down here. Kick that thing out of the way. So on these two, there's kind of a dirty side and a clean side. Put the clean side out. What you're going to do is these just literally drop into place. So you're just going to put a dab of glue on each one. And what I like to do is I actually built the bottom first. This goes back here. You know, they drop, literally drop in place. Here's another example of a window that pop out. You can just pop it out with your fingernail. So what you're going to do is you're just going to pop all these in like that. Once they're all in, you're just going to bring this down, and it mates that easy. It mates that nicely and that easy. Of course, you're going to want to glue that together. It's a little bit loose right now, but glue it all together, and that's basically it. That's the Seattle Space Needle and how to put it together. Thank you.